So before starting with today's session, let me tell you that you must have done C++ in that background to print and to take input. There are different methods, right? Over here, the syntax of printing is something like this: print in the bracket, because print is a function over here, and whatever values we pass, it will just print that value. So if it is in double quotes, that means it is just a value and it will print exactly the same. So let me show you uh, here. So let me make a session day 2.py. Yeah, this is done. Now, how to print something on Python? So for printing something on Python, we'll just write Python. Sorry, not Python. I'm very sorry. We'll just write print, and inside that we'll pass on the values. For example, welcome everyone. Okay, this is what I want to pass. This print, there is a function, there's a bracket, okay, and inside that bracket in double quotes I'm gonna write. Now, many of you might be thinking, because in C++ what happens, single quotes defines characters and double quotes define strings. Okay, this is what the difference over there was. But right over here, there is no such difference. If you write double quotes, then also it means the same. If you write single quote, then also means the same. There is no something defined as character over here. Everything is considered as a string. Okay, so let me print this, then only you will understand. So how am I going to print this? See, in the terminal, how you're going to run this? In the terminal, you're going to write Python. Wait a minute, there is a little slow of the system. Python dot slash means the current directory. Now the current directory is session1. Okay, so I will write session1. Now in session1, I'm gonna go to day 2. You can see over here how it is going. You are going for session1 and then day 2. So I will write day 2.py, and then I will press enter. So you will get your code executed, and now you'll find welcome everyone. Now, as I was telling, there is no difference between double quotes and single quotes. I will just replace this to single quote and this to single quote too. Okay. Now, when I replace this to single quote, so after that, what happens if I execute this code again? It gives me the same output. Now, you might have seen one more thing over here. We don't use any termination signs over here. We don't use any termination signs over here. In a line, there is only a code written. We don't write multiple codes in a single line after termination. I will tell you when it happens, when you can write with termination multiple lines in a single line, multiple codes you can write. But now you just understand that we don't require any termination over here, and single quotes and double quotes meant the same. Why we have two things available over here, that is also I will just prove you right now. If I want to write something like this, like don't disobey. Maybe this is what I'm gonna write. Don't disobey. Now you can see there is a color change. Now what happened? There's a single quote. This is a single quote. Okay. But in between, I have given another single quote. So what happened? It is taking something like this. This quote starts from here and ends from here, and this quote is never starts only from here. It has never no starting point. It is ending over here. Okay. So for this purpose, we have two types of things: double quotes and single quotes. Now, to differentiate between that, this single quote is a string, we need to just make this outside single quote to a double quote. Now, what happens? You will find it is everything fine. This double quote starts from here and ends over here, and this single quote becomes a string part. Okay. Now, when I execute this, then what happens? We will get exactly the same. The single quote is right over here. So to differentiate between multiple single quotes and double quotes, we do have this both the concepts of double quotes and single quotes, and both are acting as a string. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Now let us move forward. Over here. Now today we'll start with the basic data types and assignments. Now we have 4 basic data types, but the string is a data type, but actually it is considered as a sequence. Now, what is sequence we'll discuss a little later on, because what you can see that in object-oriented programmings, we have class, objects, everything, right? Arrays, then we have strings. These all are certain big files like file handling. So over here we have sequences which consist of basically all the things that are used for data handling and data storage. It consists of list, that you can say in other words array, but it is not array, but you can say in array in other words, that is list, then strings, then dictionary, then tuple, and then sets. So these all things are there over there, we have in sequences. So we will discuss the string briefly when we discuss sequences, not over here. Okay, we will discuss only the basics. Now, integer, float, string, complex number. You might have heard all this. Basically, you might have heard integer and float in the C++. These two might be new for you. Complex numbers you might have learned in mathematics, but these two data types are new for you actually. So over here, string is something, a set of characters or maybe a single character. That doesn't mean everything which has some characters is considered as a string. And complex numbers are something that has an imaginary part as well as a real part. So combination of both becomes a complex number. And if only real part is present, then it is an integer. And if you have a decimal values, then it's a float. So this is what this entire thing is. Now we'll start with integer. So how to define a value of integer? So let us do it practically over here. Let us eliminate this. Now to define an integer, okay, do not eliminate this because you might require this data. So we'll continue over here. Now I will write the headings of it. Types, data types. Maybe it is data types. Okay. So now first data type is integer. Now in integer, how to write the integer? It's something like int and something x equals to 10. This is how the format was there in C++. But over here, we do not have to write the data types over here. Directly, if we assign a variable, this is x equals to 10. So what happens? It directly allocates a memory and stores 10 value 10 into x. This is what over here is done. So whenever you print x, so you will get the value. So I will just execute this and you will find that you are getting the value 10. Okay, so this is how we define integer. Now how to know which type of data it is? Actually in a normal C++, you're gonna know the type, that it is an integer type or character type or string type. I don't remember the syntax of it, how to write that type, but there is certain things. So over here, to know the type, you just write like this type, and you're gonna, in the type function, you're gonna just send it. So you remember we had installed an extension of bracket colorizer. So over here you will find that you can see over here it is a yellow and it's yellow, and over here it is purple, somewhat purple, and over here purple. So it colorizes the bracket of starting and ending. So it helps us to understand which bracket starts from where and which bracket ends till where. Okay, now we have written the type of x. To find x is of which type, so we will just execute this code once again, and you will find that it is of class end. Now let me tell you that over here we are, each and everything is considered into two things. One is object, one is class. It is totally based on class and object, nothing else. Wherever you print directly the statements, you will find it as a class or as an object. Everything is predefined back in the backend, or the coders have already defined it into class and objects. So you can see it is of class end. So this belongs to class end. If I change this to double string, I will tell, we'll have it practically later on, but I will just see. You can see class string. Over here, string in the class, it is mentioned as str, but directly we'll just go for string. Okay, this is how you can see automatically that variable value, as per the value, regarding the value, the variable data type automatically changes. There is no predefined data type for which we're gonna use this. So I will just write 10 because it is a, and if I'm gonna write multiple statements. For example, I'm gonna write type X, and then I want to print the value also. So I will use comma, comma, and then the value means the variable name. Okay, variable is X. So over here, what will happen? We will get two datas right over here, class int 10 and then a 10. So this is the 10 that is coming from here and type coming from this value. So I hope this is clear to you. Now we'll move to the float. Now float also have the same, nothing much to define over here. Just you let a variable be a equals or f equals to 10.20, maybe this 10.20. We are not using any termination sign. You just remember this. Print. We're gonna do both the things. We're gonna do type of f, and we will also do f. We'll print f2. So let's see what happens. We'll just execute it, and you find the data. See, class float, and it is 10.2. That's it. So this is done. Now we will go for the third one, that is string. So we'll write over here string, and let us take a variable s, maybe s equals to, in double quotes or single quotes, I'm gonna write anything, maybe Teckat, and after that we'll print it. Print type of s, comma s. That means we are printing both the values, and now you will find it. Okay, there is some mistake, maybe we haven't saved this. Let us execute it once again. Yeah, we got it. See, we got this class str, and this is Teckat. Okay, so now let us go for the fourth type, that is complex number. Complex. Now this type of data, what happens? You're gonna write something like c equals to 10 plus 2j, maybe this. Okay, 10 plus 2j, and we're gonna print it. Print, first we'll use the type of c, and then in the comma we'll print c. So over here, if we execute this code, then you will find that we are getting a complex, class type complex, and it is giving a 10 plus 2j. So this is what the core type of data and how to execute this. We don't have any data types over here. Now, how to execute multiple way. For example, you want two variables, one is x equals to 10, one is y equals to 20. Okay, now you can write like this, y equals to 20, or else you can also write in a single line. That is what I was talking about previously. You can terminate this and write y equals to 20. Now what happens if you print y comma y over here, then you will get three values. You will get three values in class n, 10 and 20. So this is how we declare in a single line. Okay, by default it is eliminating this because I have saved it auto format. So by a auto format saver, it is eliminating the termination and directly it is giving this to this. But it is actually possible if you write something like this, then in a single line you can write lines. There is no issue with it. So this is how we can have multiple lines used. Now let us move to the, any doubt till here? If you don't have doubt, then we'll move forward. So let me know in the comment section if you have any doubt regarding this till here. I believe you must not. Then also if you have, let's query it. No doubt. Very good. So Biranchi says it's no. So let's move forward. So now you can see over here, there is no difference, means there is no limit of the data. So you can have an unlimited data. Okay, it may be 10 digits, it may be 100 digits, 1,000 digits. There is no limit of storing. Let me give an example. For example, this 20. if you are having something like this many digits, if you save this and if we want to print this, then you will find there is no data limits. As per your data, the memory gets allocated. Okay, there is no data limit over here in Python, like other than other any languages. We don't have any limit in Python. You can use negative keywords, you can use positive keywords, you can use unlimited data. There is no issue with this. Now in the decimal, there is the same thing happens to the decimal. You can see. Now next we have the complex numbers. So already I told you what are these complex numbers all are about. Now if you want to add or subtract a complex number, then how you're going to do? When we will be going for the operators, as you must have known what operators are, there are addition, subtraction, these all things are in the operators. So we'll go for the operators later on in this. So at that time, we'll just have this addition and subtraction, everything. But you just see, if we have a value in X and if you have a value in Y, then if you add this, then the J part will get added to the J part and the X part will get, means real part will add it to the real part only. So if you want to test, you can test it right over here. You take two variables, let it be C and D. D equals to, let it be 20. If you take this, then if we want to print, then in double quotes, I'm going to write sum equals to, and then a comma, and I will just write the variable that is C plus D. Okay, I have written C plus D, and I will just execute this code. So you can see the sum is equals to 30 plus 2j. Okay, now let us print this also so that it is easier for our representation. It's a better data representation will be there. I believe it has not saved it. Yeah, see, we have got 10 plus 2j and this is 20. So when we add this, then you get it. Now you just make some changes. Maybe it is plus 30j. So what happens? It will add the j value in the j part and the y value in the y part. You can see it's 20 plus 30j, and the result is also the addition of both. So this is how this works in a complex numbers addition. Let me comment this as addition of complex. Okay, this is what addition of complex. Now if we move forward, then there are many things. If you want to eliminate the real parts, if you want to eliminate the imaginary parts, so this is how. Okay, so in the next time, now we have a function complex where we pass on the values. The first value is the real part and the second value is the imaginary part. If we pass on the values, then automatically it will give a complex number. Okay, so let us execute this. It is known as complex function, and we can use it like we have a variable like z equals to, and there is a complex function, and inside that we have plus three values, 4 comma minus 9. So what the actual value will be? 4 plus 4 minus 9j. This will be the answer. So let us print it. Print z, and when we execute it, you will find we are getting it 4 minus 9j. Okay, you can better represent it that using complex function. Everywhere, whenever you write your codes and everything, the only thing that makes difference between you and the other is the representation of the code. If your code representation is very good, then what happens? People are getting more attracted towards you. Okay, your documentation should be a greater best one so that people could get more attraction towards your coding languages. Okay, because coding many people does, but there are many few people who are at the top levels. So this is something what they prefer. Now after this we have to, we can separate the real part and imaginary part. So how to do this? over here everything is a dot method. Means if you have the variable like c, then c dot, then the function that we want to call over here, the objects that we're going to call over here. Okay, so now separating real and imaginary parts. Now, for separating the real and imaginary parts, what we're gonna do, we're gonna first let us take C. This C we're gonna separate. So C dot real. So let us print only directly. Print real part equals to, and then we'll just have a comma over here, and then we'll have C dot real. Okay, this will give us the real part, and similarly print imaginary part equals to, comma, C dot image. So we got both the real and the image, and now we'll just execute this code, and you will find that in C, where it was 10 plus 2j right over here, okay, so it was 10 plus 2j, now it is having the real part separated 10 and the imaginary part 2. So we have separated the values. Okay, so this is how you're gonna write the real part and imaginary part. And now there is something like printing the modulus. You could write something like, if you have some certain complex numbers like C, so you write something like mod of C. So mod of C is what? Under root, when sqrt, this is the function that we use in your novel for square root. Sqrt means square root of a square. I'm just writing just for make you understanding. Okay, I'm not writing the exact syntax over here. A square plus b square. So this is what happens. So what is a square? It is the real square, real part square, and what is b square? It is the imaginary part square. Means 2 square and 10 square. That gives you total whatever the addition is, and then under root. This is what the absolute value or the modulus of C is. So now we have a function over here, absolute, ABS. This function, what it does, it will just do this part. It will take the real part and imaginary part, and it will square root it. So this is what this function does over here, and we'll just use this function only. So we will have print the absolute value. Now let us write the function like print. Inside print directly, I'm writing absolute, and inside absolute I will just may pass the function directly. If I want to make the absolute of C, then I will just C, and I will just press execute this code. So you will find we have got the value of C. This is the absolute value of C. Now you might be thinking that it may be some error data. So let us take a value like 3 square 9 and 4 square 16 makes 25. So let us take an E, and it may be 4 plus 3j. So the answer should come 5. Let us see if this is correct. So we are passing E over here, and we'll be executing this code once again. It should come 5. Yeah, it is exactly 5. So let me represent it also. Absolute value, comma. Yeah, this is a better representation of data. So see, we have got the absolute value, something like this. Now there is another method also. Let it be method 1, absolute value method 1, and let us copy this, and let it be method 2. Over here we can pass functions inside a function. So whatever you pass functions inside a function, what happens? It will start operating from the inner function. Okay, from inside it will start operating. Like if you want to pass the complex function inside this, and inside complex you're going to pass two values. maybe 4 minus 4 comma minus 3j. Okay, minus 3. Okay, this is the values you have passed. So inside it, it is making a complex number, and that complex number it is passing to an absolute function, and that absolute function gives us the value. So this is what it is happening. So let us execute this, and you will find C absolute method 2. We have got the values 5. So these are the two methods. Directly you assign your values somewhere as a complex number and you pass, or else you can directly make complex number inside the function itself and you can pass the values. So till here, do you have any doubt? Just let me know in the comment section. No, okay, it's clear, very good. So guys, now we will go for typecasting. Now what is typecasting? Basically, you just understand something like this. We'll just take our excess cap and right over here, typecasting. Let us make this more better way, in a better way. Data types, we are starting from here. So let us make it something like this so that it is better for your representation, and while you practice you get to know till where it is actually. Data type start, and let me copy this and paste it somewhere over here, and it will be data type end. So it is a better representation for you. Now similarly I will just copy this, paste it over here, and it is typecast start, and we'll just paste it again, and this is typecast end. Yeah, this is done. So we will just write our codes over here. Now what is typecasting actually is, for example, you have some values like 2.2.5. okay, now you want only the integer part, you don't want the your decimal parts, you only want the integer part. So when you want to convert a value that is coming in some other format, but you want to convert it in some different format, that is called as typecasting. Okay, now you want to typecast this 2.5, then what you're going to do, you're going to just pass it to that particular typecast function. Like if I now typecast this 2.5 into integer, you're going to pass this to the integer function, and when you will print, okay, let's not do like this. Let's make it a little more means number of lines so that it is easier for us to differentiate. Print x, maybe type of x, and comma x. That means we are printing the values first, and then we'll typecast it. X equals to integer of x. You may be confused of this, so it's better I use 2.5 only over here, and I change the variable over here. You might be confused of that statement. Okay, so now what happens, we'll just print it once again. Print type of x, type of y, and y. Okay, now let us see what happens. We'll just execute this code. Let me comment this entire code right over here so that we don't get unnecessary execution of the data. So you can see we got class float and 2.5. This part over here, right over here, this part is showing you class float and 2.5, and right over here this part is showing you class int only 2. The decimal part has been removed. So this type of conversions are called as typecasting. So let me write it. int typecast. Okay, similarly we have float typecast we have string typecast. Okay, so first we'll discuss on the float typecast. Okay, now let us have what we can do. Let us take another variable only. Let us take z equals to 5. Okay, this is of integer type. You can see. Now we can print type of z, comma z, and then we will typecast it. So let us take another variable a, or it is a float, so let us take f. F is equals to, it's a float type, so we'll float of 5. So what happens, it becomes, changes the type, print type f, and I will print f. So let us see what happens. Okay, let me do one more thing. Let me make this a better way. Not this. Let me make this typecast int so that it is understood. And over here, comma. Okay. Similarly, let me make this as typecast float. And then a comma. That's it. So this is done. Now we will just execute this code, and you will find that when typecast end was there, we got 2. Okay, and over here you can see we have stored a value 5, and when it is typecasted in the float, we are getting the value 5.0. So after this step, what happens, the value becomes 5.0. So this is what it is happening over here. The value gets changed. Now we'll have the string typecast. Okay, now in string typecast, what we're going to do, let us take a variable. Let us take s, maybe the string a equals to 20. Okay, let us take this. Now we'll print type of a, comma a. Now similarly, we'll typecast it now. So let it be s, str, and we'll type send a. So this is the method how to convert it in string. Str is the function. Okay, now we have typecasted a, let it be 20. You don't confuse with this. Let it be 20. And now we'll print it. Print what? First of all, we're type cast string, and then a comma, then type of s, and then a comma, and then s. So this is how we're gonna write over here. And now let us execute this code. So you will find that we are getting the class string. Okay, it was class int, but now the type of the class changed to string, and we are getting a string type. Now if you're gonna understand, if you see that there is no difference over here, that we are not getting anything, so you can do one thing to check out. If you write over here, comma a plus 20, because numbers could be added, is operated. Okay, a plus 20. And similarly, if you write over here s plus 20, this is a capital S, this should be small s. Okay, now if you execute this, you will find an error. So what is that error? Can only concatenate str, not int to str. Okay, that means this is int, and we cannot concatenate. Means concatenation is something adding some data to the existing string. That is what concatenation is. So over here you can find out that this 20 is an integer type, and it cannot be added because both data types are something different. Now if you want to add this, we can add this as converting it to a string. Now if you execute this code, it won't throw an error, but what happens, it will add 20. Means this 20 is added over here. You can see this 20 is added over here with the existing number. The existing value was 20. So the 20 gets added to 20. That means it is just add after it just write 20 and add it to the existing string. But over here you will find the data as 40 because it was an integer type. So this is what it is happening right over here in Python, that you cannot add different two variables, but you can concatenate it easily using plus. So I believe you are clear with this typecasting. Let me see if I left something. We had done this. See, we are typecasting string into integer. We are typecasting float into integer. We are typecasting int into integer. That is an integer only, no issue. Similarly, over here, you can see we are typecasting float string into an integer, into a float. Then we are typecasting this into a float. This is a string, normal string. This is a float, and it will be always a float. And over here, a number is 4. You can see the outputs right over here. You will find out the outputs right over here. Okay, divmod. Now, what is this divmod function? Divmod function is something to find the quotient and the remainder. Okay, when you pass two values, means x and y over here, it pass on the quotient and the remainder. The first is the quotient and the second is the remainder. Now, I believe you know what is a quotient and a remainder. So, if you wanna write it over here also, uh, divmod function. Now in this, if you pass a means let it be print directly, print divmod, and inside this you're gonna pass two values. Let it be 4 divided by 2. So 4 comma 2 I'm passing, and if you just print it, then you will execute the code. Then you will find it's giving the quotient as 2 and remainder as 0. But when you will press it, maybe 9 divided by 2, so it's basically 4.5. So 4.5, that means the remainder should be half of it. So let's see. You can find the remainder is 1. 2 fours are 8 and remaining is 1. So the quotient is 4 and the remainder is 1. So it will give you the quotient and the remainder values, and you can access it easily over here. So this is what the divmod function does. Now there is an exercise over here. You can just note it down to the exercise. It will be helpful for your practice, because there is no solved part over here. If you find any difficulties for this, you can ask. So do you have any difficulties on understanding the typecasting? Just let me know in the comment section if you found any difficulty in understanding the typecasting. No, very good. Okay, so have you written down these questions? If you haven't, then you can go to the when you find the video to your mail ID, you will just find it. The videos will be uploaded in the same playlist. So whenever it is uploaded, what happens? You will find it in the playlist directly. Okay, and you can directly access to it. Now we have identifiers. Now let us discuss what are identifiers. Anything that we can naming, the naming procedure of any variable, any class, any function, any object, whatever thing. If you are naming something, that part is called as identifiers. Now in Python there are the same rules that other also have. The rules are almost same. The identifiers can be combination of letters in lowercase or uppercase. Okay, or digits or an underscore. It may start from an underscore also, like this manner. Okay, are valid examples. An identifier cannot start with a digit. Okay, variable is invalid. Means if it is starting from a digit, the variable becomes invalid and it won't work. Now the other is that we cannot use a keyword as a user-defined identifier. Okay, and we cannot use special symbols as an identifier. Now, the identifier can be of any length. Now, always take a suggestion on this point, that this is a profit for us that we can have any length of identifier, because it's always better to have exactly the name of the function. For example, for the identifier. For example, if you are having a variable for storing the student name, then you must write it something like student underscore name, or in camel case if you follow, what is a camel case? See over here you will find my class written, right? My class. This format is a camel case format where starting with a small, and when there is a word change, means class is a different word, at that time we just initiate the first letter as capital and then other letters be small. So this is a class change, and this format is known as camel case of writing. So similarly, so what happens at that time, if you change your project, means for example you are working in some different project and you pass on the project to some of your colleague, then they will find no difficulty in not in understanding the which variable is used for what. But if you write something like this std data, something like for database of student, then they will get confused that what is this std data all about. It could be anything. So it's better to write the entire names perfectly. It will take a little time, but in VS Code you get suggestions. So once you write it, then you get the suggestions and you need not write it again and again. Now over here we'll come to sequence, as we have only 15 minutes of the class left. So I won't get enter into the sequence completely, but yes, I will brief you each and every topic of the sequence and what is all about. Okay. So now, as I told, string is a type of sequence. So over here, you know what is a string. And then the string handling of the string, that is a sequence. Like we can handle the capitalization. For example, user, if you're asking something to the user, for example, we are taking data from the user. So user may give data in many variants, like all small, some capital, maybe in a different swap case type of thing. Okay, so at that time, what we can do over here, we can handle that input data directly through string handling over here in Python. These are that is coming under sequence. We have many methods like capitalize method. Then we have, sorry, I'm calling it as a method because in Java, when working, if you continuously work on two topics, 2 3 languages, then you just mix everything. So in JavaScript, we call the functions as methods, but over here we call it as a function only. So we have capitalized function, we have upper, lower, to upper, is lower, many other functions. We're going to discuss it. Okay. Now these three must be new to you: list, dictionary, tuple. Now, what you had learned as arrays, there are two type of array in C++. One is the numeric array and the other is the character array. Okay, so merging both the things, both the arrays, if you merge together, means it has become list. In list, you can store the numeric values as well as character value in the same list. Means if you are defining a list, will type L, then means the variable name is L, then inside that variable, whatever you stored, it may contain the numeric values as well as the character values. It doesn't define, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, so that is what list is all about. Okay, now dictionary. What is dictionary? It has two things: one key and one value. The key are unique identification numbers. Okay, you cannot have, in a single dictionary you cannot have two same keys. The keys are always unique. For example, you have key like roll numbers, registration numbers in your college or schools, whatever you have. So over there you will find that your registration numbers are unique. It will not match to any other thing. Similarly, those things are maintained in Python in dictionary. Okay, the keys becomes unique, the registration numbers becomes keys, and when someone enters that registration number, your entire details will be thrown out, and those details are stored in values. Okay, I repeat it again. The registration number becomes a keys, and if someone enters the registration number, then every detail of yours will be thrown out, and those details are stored in value. So I will just tell you how this is happening. You just understand that dictionary consists of the key and the values. Now tuple. Tuple is immutable. That means you cannot change, like unlike like list and dictionary. Over here in tuple, once a tuple is created, can never be changed, or means you cannot change the numbers, change the values, or modify it. In other words, what you can say, you cannot modify those values. Okay, once a tuple is created, it is created. It cannot be like you want to delete some one of the number from there. It is not possible. Or you want to insert something, it is also not possible. Only that is possible is to delete the entire tuple. Once the tuple created, it can only have the access to delete the entire tuple. Yes, you can use the values of the tuple whenever you want. You can take the values, store somewhere, use those values accordingly. That is all possible, but you cannot change the values inside that tuple variable. This is not possible. So now, if you go for this, they have some means by seeing the values. Example of tuple. Okay, let me give you an example of tuple. Uh, Government, there are some government sites who has some authentications, like your Aadhaar card numbers. Okay, so what happens over there? In your Aadhaar card numbers, you whenever you there entered the data, it is stored in a tuple. Okay, it is stored in a tuple and it cannot be changed. If you try to change it, it cannot be changed. If you want to change it, then what happens? They're gonna delete the previous tuple and create a new tuple, and inside that it will be changed. So this is an example of the tuple. In practical basis, you will find such data where you don't want to change, like dictionary, the key values you don't want to change. So the key values can be, a tuple can be used as the key values in the dictionary, where you don't never want to change the data. You want to secure the data. You never want to disclose the data or access the data to anyone else. So there we will use tuples. Now, after seeing the data itself, you will find it is of which type. It is of list, dictionary, tuple. How? So let me tell you, we will not go deep. So I will just take a comment and write how to visualize sequence. Visualize sequence. My words may not be appropriate, but it is easy. It can understand what I meant actually. So first, string. So to understand a string, if you have a variable x, then you will find something in double quotes written. So if something in double quotes written, it is a string. Okay. Now, to understand a list, let a variable L is there, and it will be something in single quotes written right away. Single quotes, I'm sorry. It's a square brackets. If anything is written inside a square bracket, that signifies a list. Now, if you have a dictionary, then let it be D, then in the curly braces, everything is written. The first part is the key, and with a colon, we have the value. This is how we write in dictionary. We have over here also, let me write something. 1, 2, these are the two elements of the list, and over here, let it write Teckat. Okay. So this is how we have, this is the key, and this is the value. Over here we write all the values, and over here we write all the keys over here. And now for tuple, if you want to visualize it is a tuple or not, so for tuple we write something like this, maybe T, and in parentheses. So in parentheses, if you write anything like 1, 2, if you write, so this is what a tuple value is. Tuples are immutable. Okay, this is how these could be seen, that which type of sequence it is of list, dictionary, or tuple. You can easily understand this. So guys, did you understood today's session completely? If you have any queries regarding today's session, just ask me in the comment section. Okay, so I believe you all understood today's concept. So we won't go further of this. We're going to enter string because only few minutes are left of our class. So we'll end this class over here, and we'll continue from here in tomorrow's session, and we'll try to complete string and list. Okay, so with this, we end today's session. Thank you guys for being with us. So I'm just ending this session. If you have any queries, you may ask. I'm just waiting for 1 minute more, or else we'll end this session. Okay, there is a query of identifiers. Now, what is identifier? See, this name, if I'm writing something over here, this t, this is a variable, and this contains some name. So this is what identifier is: naming procedure. How to name something. If I'm naming this variable, for example, with 1, it will throw me an error. Can't assign to literal. You can see over here, it's throwing me an error. If I write it with 1 Teckat, then it will also throw an error. A variable cannot start with 1. Okay, but if I miss this one and I write this one after this, then it will not throw an error, because this is the procedure. We cannot start anything with numbers. Now if I write @ over here, a special character, then it will throw an error, because @ is a special character we cannot use as an naming a variable. So this is what identifier says. Identifiers are the rules to name a variable, function, class, anything. Whatever you name, it has to be following the identifier rules. Did you understood? Okay. So I believe you don't have any other doubts. So we'll end the session right now. Thank you guys for being with us. Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time.